Let's get one thing straight. Choosing to detach is not weakness. It's not bitterness. And it is certainly not punishment. Detachment is one of the most courageous, soul-defining decisions you will ever make because it doesn't come from apathy. It comes from the deepest kind of self-love, the kind that whispers, I can love you and still choose myself. You don't detach because you no longer care. You detach because you do care, and that care includes yourself. It includes your peace, your dignity, your healing, your future. There comes a moment when you realize that clinging to what drains you is far more dangerous than letting go. And that's when something shifts inside you. That's when you step out of survival mode and step into sacred clarity. Letting go doesn't mean you failed. Letting go doesn't mean the love wasn't real. Letting go means you finally saw the cost and decided you're worth more than the currency of confusion. Because here's the truth that no one teaches us growing up. You can love someone with your whole soul and still know they're not safe for your nervous system. You can miss them and still choose not to chase. You can grieve the connection and still honor your boundaries. We're taught that love is proven in how tightly we hold on. But real, mature, self-anchored love, it's revealed in how freely we let go when something starts wounding more than it heals. That's not abandonment. That's alignment. That's not rejection. That's not cruelty. That's clarity. Detachment is power. Because when you no longer tether your worth to someone else's ability to choose you, when you no longer define your peace by someone else's presence, when you no longer make excuses for someone who keeps showing you they're not ready, not present, not whole, you become untouchable in the most holy way. You stop reacting. You stop chasing closure from someone who benefits from your confusion. You stop negotiating with people who only show up when they sense you pulling away. That kind of freedom, it's not loud. It doesn't come with fireworks or final speeches. It's quiet. It's sacred. It's internal. It happens when you unfollow not to make a point, but to make peace. When you stop rereading old messages, not because they don't matter, but because you do. When you stop begging for clarity from people who are addicted to being unclear. Detachment is power because it's not about them. It's not about whether they text back. It's not about whether they regret it. It's not about whether they notice your absence. It's about you choosing to stop bleeding in places that won't even offer you a bandage. It's about you realizing that the love you were handing out freely was never meant to be an audition. It's about you standing in front of the mirror, tear-streaked, tired, but true, and saying, I may not have all the answers, but I refuse to keep asking the wrong questions. You don't have to hate anyone to heal from them. You don't have to expose anyone to walk away. You don't have to turn your story into a weapon. You just have to detach with love, with grace, with spine and softness braided together. Because detachment is not closing your heart. It's finally realizing who never deserved a front row seat to it. And yes, detachment is grief. It is mourning the potential, the almosts, the version of them you kept trying to see. It is heavy. It is lonely. It is disorienting. But slowly, in the quiet, you begin to feel your own heartbeat again. You remember what peace felt like before the chaos. You remember what your laugh sounded like when it wasn't dimmed by anxiety. You remember that your worth is not dependent on being chosen by someone who didn't even choose themselves. Detachment is power because it shifts the energy. It reroutes the pattern. Healing doesn't scream because silence, when chosen, not forced, is not a void. It's a sanctuary. It's where your spirit breathes again after suffocating under the weight of someone else's confusion. It's where your nervous system stops living in flight or fight mode. It's where your body says a thank you for not making me fight anymore. Some people will say you're being petty for going silent, that you should have explained more, tried harder, but you did. You did. And then you did again until you were bleeding through words no one ever tried to understand. And now it's how you heal without needing to harm. You can still wish them well. You can still carry the memories without carrying the weight, but you do it in silence, not to punish them, but to protect you. In that silence, you don't shrink, you grow. You expand, you evolve. You reconnect with the parts of you that were silenced, trying to hold something together that was falling apart. You no longer need to explain yourself to people who never listened. You no longer crave the voice of someone who only showed up when you were already drowning. You no longer fear what happens when you say nothing, because now you know what happens when you do. You become whole. You become your own sanctuary. Let them wonder. Let them rewrite the story. Let them sit with the space your silence left behind. That's not your job to fix anymore. Your job now is to sit in your stillness and remember, you are not here to be a backup plan. You are not here to chase love down alleys of emotional unavailability. You are not here to scream just to be seen. You are here to be rooted, to be grounded, to be enough in silence, in stillness, in solitude. And when the right people arrive, they'll hear your silence and still feel your presence. They'll sit with your stillness and not need to be entertained. They'll respect the peace you fought so hard to find, and they won't mistake it for weakness, because real connection doesn't require noise. It requires energy, it requires presence, it requires honesty, the kind that doesn't need performance. So if you're in a season of silence right now, hold it sacred. Don't rush to break it. Don't let the loneliness lie to you. Don't let the old patterns pull you back into storms you already outgrew. Stay, breathe, listen. And know this, silence is not the absence of love. It's the return to self-love. It's the boundary your soul begged for. It's the healing your heart is finally receiving. Silence is not surrender. It's your sanctuary, and you belong there, not to hide, but to rise. There's a moment, maybe after the text never comes, maybe after the door closes, maybe after they walk away without looking back, where something inside of you shatters. And in that silence, in that absence, the mind starts to spiral. Ah, I wasn't enough. They took the best parts of me. And now I'm broken. Now I'm alone. Now I'm empty. But let me tell you something I want you to tattoo on your spirit. You were whole before them. You are whole now. They didn't complete you. They simply met you in one season of your becoming, and now they're gone, and now they're gone. But that doesn't mean your worth left with them. It doesn't mean your story ends here. We are taught from such a young age that someone out there will make us whole, that we're half until they find us. That love is about two broken people fitting their shattered edges together and calling it healing. Buster. That's romantic in movies, but in real life, it's poison. You weren't born missing pieces. You weren't born lacking anything. You weren't born to complete someone or to be completed. You were born whole. You were born enough. You were born worthy. And what hurts right now? It's not the loss of your wholeness. It's the loss of the illusion that someone else held the key to it. You handed them power they didn't earn. You gave them a role in your life that was never theirs to keep. And that's not something to be ashamed of. It's something to learn from. Because now you're here, in the raw, in the real, and this is where the healing begins. Not by patching yourself back together for someone else to approve, but by remembering who you were before they forgot who you are. You are not a fraction. You are not a leftover. You are not something that needs to be fixed before you can be loved. You are a full, radiant, complex, messy, miraculous human being, with or without a relationship, with or without their validation, with or without their closure. And yes, heartbreak feels like being ripped in half. Yes, loss feels like grief. Yes, loneliness feels like a void you'll never climb out of. But feelings aren't facts. And just because it feels like you've been reduced doesn't mean your value has changed. It is so easy to believe that someone's absence means you're less lovable. It is so easy to define your reflection through the eyes of someone who didn't stay. But I promise you, their inability to hold you is not proof that you were too much. Their inability to choose you is not evidence that you weren't enough. Sometimes people leave not because you were unworthy, but because they weren't capable. And that's not your burden to carry. Your responsibility now is not to win them back. It's not to fix what was broken. It's not to mold yourself into something more acceptable, more pleasing, more manageable. Your responsibility now is to remember yourself, to rebuild your identity from the inside out, not based on who left, but on who's still here. You, who has survived disappointment after disappointment and still chooses to believe in love. You who gave deeply even when it wasn't reciprocated. You who wakes up every day with a heart that still beats with hope. No matter how bruised, you were whole before this. You are whole now. Even in the ache, even in the silence, even when you doubt at most, because wholeness isn't perfection. Wholeness isn't invincibility. Wholeness is truth. That is the truth that you are already everything you need to be. It is the truth that you are not defined by who loves you. You are defined by how you love, how you rise, how you stay true to yourself when others walk away. And yes, they might have taken pieces of your story with them. They might have left you with unanswered questions, with wounds that still sting in the night. But they didn't take your essence. They didn't take your worth. They didn't take your future. What they left behind, it hurts, but it also makes space. Space for rediscovery, space for rebuilding, space for a version of you that isn't built around keeping someone else comfortable. This version of you, the one that's rising from the ashes, slowly, painfully, beautifully, they are whole, not because everything's perfect, but because they refuse to stay shattered. They are whole because they no longer look outside for their identity. They are whole because they finally see themselves as worthy of a love that mirrors their own, deep, honest, and lasting. You don't need to earn your wholeness. You need to remember it. So say it with me, not just with your mouth, but with your bones. I was whole before. I am whole now. Even when it hurts, even when I miss them, even when I don't feel strong. I am not less because they left. I am not less because they didn't stay. I am not less because I had to walk away. I am not less because I am still here, breathing. I'm still here, breathing, becoming. Belonging to myself again. Let's start here. You are not broken. You are not hard to love. But the world taught you to question that, didn't it? Taught you to look outside yourself to know if you're lovable, taught you to check their tone, their texts, their reactions, just to feel okay for 5 minutes, taught you to hand over your sense of worth to people who are still unsure of their own. That need you feel to be seen, that's not weakness. That's being human. But here's the trap, and it's deep, it's sticky, it's loud. When you make someone else's validation your medicine, you become addicted to their approval. And approval, it's cheap, it's fleeting, it's unstable, it's conditional. It's given in doses and taken away without warning. That's not love. That's not healing. That's not freedom. When you live for validation, you die by its absence. You start tailoring yourself to fit into someone else's expectations, dimming your light, softening your truth, shrinking your spirit. But But what happens when they change the rules? When their love becomes inconsistent, when their approval disappears the second you stop performing, you lose yourself. And I don't mean that dramatically. I mean it literally. You stop recognizing your own reflection. You stop trusting your own voice. You stop believing you're enough unless someone else confirms it. But here's what's true, and I want you to take a deep breath before you read this. Validation is not love. It's control. Because real love doesn't require performance. Real love doesn't ask you to prove. Real love doesn't feel like walking a tightrope while holding your breath. You've been tricked into thinking that if they respond, it means you matter. If they come back, it means you're worthy. If they post you, praise you, text you first, then you can finally exhale. But what if I told you that the most dangerous lie you've ever believed is that someone else has the power to tell you who you are? You are not a project that needs to be approved. You are not a proposal waiting for someone to stamp accepted. You are not a mirror for someone else's pride, ego, or insecurity. You are whole. You are here. You are enough, even in silence, even in solitude. Even in the absence of claps, comments, or confirmation, the trap of seeking validation is that it never fills you. You get a momentary high, then it disappears, and you chase it again like a thirst that never gets quenched, like a hunger that eats your joy, your boundaries, your truth. And you know what it really costs you? Your peace, your self-respect, your identity. Because to be constantly validated by others, you have to constantly abandon yourself. You start second guessing your instincts. You over-explain. You people please until you forget what pleasing yourself even feels like. You say yes when your gut screams no. You tolerate behavior that wounds you, all for the hope that someone will finally say, "You're good enough now." But you were always good enough. You were always enough. Before the performance, before the pretending, before the people pleasing. Validation feels good. Let's not lie about it. We all want to be seen. We all want to be loved. We all want to know that we matter. But when your emotional survival depends on someone else seeing you, you'll keep choosing people who need you to keep performing, to stay lovable. And that's not intimacy. That's insecurity. That's not connection. That's codependency. You don't have to keep doing emotional gymnastics just to be chosen. You don't have to keep watering relationships where you're constantly dehydrated. And no, this doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you stop being kind. It means you stop begging people to notice what's already valuable. Because the truth is, the people who are meant for you won't need a spotlight to see you. They won't need convincing to treat you with consistency. They won't turn your self-worth into a competition, a game, a test. And until you believe that for yourself, you will continue mistaking crumbs for connection. You will keep settling for partial love, partial presence, all while trying to earn a full sense of worth. But it doesn't work that way. It never will. You're not meant to survive off of external validation. You're meant to thrive from internal truth. You don't need 1,000 affirmations a day when you become rooted in your own knowing. You don't need applause when you already approve of your own voice. You don't need to prove anything when you've made peace with who you are. So here's what I hope for you. I hope you walk away from people who make you feel like a job interview. I hope you release the obsession with being understood by those committed to misunderstanding you. I hope you stop editing yourself just to fit inside someone else's comfort zone. And I hope you remember this: validation is a trap. It's addictive. It's empty. It's loud. But your healing, that comes in the quiet. That comes in the moment you say, "Even if no one claps, I will still dance." Even if no one texts, I will still speak life over myself. Even if no one chooses me today, I still choose me because seeking validation is not the cure. You are. Your truth is, your voice is, your knowing is, your courage is. And once you trust that, you become unstoppable. Not because others see you, but because you finally do.